We're recording now.
Welcome, readers and listeners, I guess.
I hope you're readers.
Yes, readers of T.K. Johnson's Laurel Vaughn series. We're doing part 2 of our questions with our author as well as our audiobook recorder, who's myself.
Producer's a very nice title.
Oh, yes,
I call her narrator as well. Yes. Recorder. You're not an instrument. Well, you are an instrument. But...
Well, yeah, but that's true. Anyway, we are just doing interview questions back and forth to kind of get to know us a little bit more about our process and just some creative things that you might want to know. Mm-hmm. So
we've got Moss. I just want to disclaimer: he is not dead. He is just dead weight on my lap as he snuggles and sleeps.
Yep.
All right, you've met everybody.
Yeah. So moving straight into another question for you, TK. How did you come up with the idea for your book?
If you've listened to any of my videos or have visited my website and read about this, I used to work at a company called Remedy Life. It's a nonprofit located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they work with hurting teens, really all hurting people now. It used to be more teen focused. Now it's anyone of any age, specifically about suicide, but really mental health in general. I keep saying one thing and then taking it back, but it's suicide, anxiety, depression. They would chat with kids online, whether you're struggling with what prom dress you should wear, maybe your dog died, all the way to people that were literally on the ledge waiting or just wanting a reason to survive, a reason to not kill themselves. And so they had this amazing ministry and chat where people were there to talk. No matter what you're going through, you had someone to talk to. I worked there as a producer for what we called the Gong Show. It was an after school, just fun, silly show. And it was so interesting to hear the stories that came. A lot of it was the typical stuff that most teenagers feel. They don't belong, something's different about them, which is funny because every single teenager feels that way. It's part of life. It's part of growing up most of the time. At some point you wonder, is there something different about me? You know, why don't I have the friends that I want? Why don't I have a boyfriend when everyone else does? You know, whatever it may be. But the way that all these different teenagers dealt with it was very intriguing to me, especially those who are like me and kind of turned to more nerdy communities. There's a lot of acceptance among nerds and outcasts, and theater was a place where I went to feel accepted. Movies and fandoms is where I went to feel accepted, and so that's where I fell in love with the fantasy genre for books and movies, and that's where the idea came from, was seeing all these hurting teens and a lot of people with some really real struggles in their life and how they dealt with it or how they weren't able to deal with it, and kind of sparked the idea.
Very nice.
Very long answer. But...
It's all right, being thorough.
Yeah. Want you guys to really know where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Sharla, you have done a lot of acting. Mm-hmm. We've talked before on stage, behind a camera, vocal work. There is spots in my books where I have songs.
Uh-huh.
Sharla's not prepared for any of this because I'm coming up with them on the spot. You have offered to sing these songs. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to ask you to sing a song from my book right now.
I was going to say.
But can you give us an excerpt of one of your favorite pieces that you could sing for us?
Oh, gosh. Favorite pieces.
First, let's start with, what are some roles you've played musically?
Okay.
Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, I did Belle.
Truly scrumptious.
Most
from
recently.
Chitty Bang Bang.
Truly. I've played Grace Farrell from Annie.
Okay.
Trying to think, past that, I think high school was the last time I did musicals. I was Golda in Fiddler on the Roof.
Golda.
And Sally in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, any musical.
Oh my goodness.
Whether you've been in it or not, sing us an excerpt.
The only thing I'm thinking right now is Alona, and that's not even my vocal range. I've recently become obsessed with a musical called She Loves Me, and but the songs that are in my head are actually sung by tenors and not sopranos.
Zachary Levi, Broadway HD. Shout out to Zachary Levi.
Oh yeah,
he's amazing.
He is. Let's see. I'm like clearing my throat.
She's preparing.
Right. Do you have a preference on something you'd like to hear? This is making it harder.
Nothing too Broadway-ish.
Okay.
I studied theater, but I don't actually like Broadway tunes. Don't tell anyone.
I'm trying to think of something that's really short that I could sing.
Oh, she's singing.
Yeah. Well, that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah, I do. I want to preview your voice
Oh my gosh.
to our audience.
I guess I could just sing something from The Sound of Music. Everyone knows.
Oh yeah,
Raindrops on Roses.
everyone knows Julie Andrews.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Oh,
There you go.
beautiful. Follow-up question.
Okay.
So you're a soprano.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when the men sing in the book?
We
We haven't talked about this yet.
Yeah, I actually do have quite a range. I used to have a 5-octave range when I was in high school. It's not that it's not that big anymore.
As you grow, your voice matures.
Yes,
Yep.
and I don't sing as much as I used to. I used to sing in choir every day and at church and things like that. So, and I don't sing very often anymore. But I can sing an alto part, and so I think it will just be lower
Works, yeah.
when the men are singing.
All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear it. I am no music writer. I question my lyrics for songs, but it's fantasy, so who cares? I can write whatever I want.
Yeah, you can.
But I'm very interested to see what kind of tunes come out of what I've written, because I write them without a tune in my head, so it'll be fun to see what happens.
Yep.
Dishwasher.
Dishwasher's
Okay.
clean. Yep.
Great. So what in particular appeals to you about this genre that you wrote in?
Ooh. I feel like I kind of answered that. I just don't remember if it was this video or the other one. But I grew up loving fantasy. I was at a very vulnerable age when the Star Wars prequels came out. So yes, I do love Hayden Christensen. Huge fan. Early Star Wars, I grew up on all the Star Wars. Lord of the Rings had a huge impact on my life. All the Narnia. I grew up watching the BBC Narnia, which was actually rather creepy.
Yeah.
Now that
yeah.
I watch it again as an adult,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
a little
I've
scary.
seen it. It is scary.
But I loved it, and I love those stories that took you away to another world. So I guess fantasy is my genre of choice because it takes you away to another world. Anything is possible. I don't feel like I've ever been super confident in our world, in reality. I've always felt like I lean on a lot of people. I need support from people. I am scared to drive. Driving freaks me out. And that's like a major part of our life. So I love the idea of a place with no cars, where you get to ride horses and dragons instead, because to me that seems safer. So I love being able to go into my own world and create those stories and invite people into them. And I also love diving into the other worlds that people's imaginations dream up. So
Aw,
hope
great.
that answers the question well. Yep.
Great.
All right, Sharla, I won't put you on the spot so much anymore. Of self-conclusion, because we don't want to give away any spoilers yet. What part are you most excited to read and to bring to life?
Oh, it's a great question. There are specific scenes that I really love, but I think what is gonna be most fun is actually when I get to certain creatures that talk.
Oh yeah, I think we can talk about it.
Okay.
Just spoilers, just in case. Spoilers. Be ready.
So there are beasts that speak. And they're specifically beasts because they can speak, very different than animals, as she explains in her book. And so, but I think those I can have a little bit, maybe more permission to create specific character voices for those. And so I think that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, we have Zane the Airedale. He was based off of Q, my Airedale. We spent a lot of time alone when we lived in Atlanta, just me and Q. My husband was on tour, so it's just the two of us, and so he made it into my book. Emerald, the dragon. Then there are the deformed. Ooh, we haven't talked about that.
I haven't even thought about that. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, so quick explanation. In Laurel Vaughn, as Sharla said, there are animals and there are beasts. Beasts are basically animals who were given the ability think, to speak, because they were not formed the way humans were. They think with their minds, so you're able to chat back and forth with your mind. So I could talk to my dog by thinking to him, and vice versa. But the deformed were creatures that were twisted for evil. They were tortured and twisted from their original design of what they were meant to be, and they are really created for the sole purpose of driving fear into someone and to defeat their enemy. So their minds are twisted, which will be so fun to vocalize that, because they do think with words. Yes. Yeah. But then there's deformed bears, deformed mountain cats. They're creatures so deformed you don't know what they are. Yeah. So that will be fun. Ooh. It's exciting. We haven't talked about some of this, and now I can't wait. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Do you have a favorite character?
Yes.
Who?
I don't know. This will even be a surprise. I love Killian.
Yes.
Killian. If I were a guy, I'd be Killian. Like sulky a little bit. Stop humming over there. We got guys. We got our team, our crew, our camera crew, playing games on their tablets. And they're distracting with their voices. But I love Killian because he's the quiet type. But when he says something, like you hear him, he jabs a little. He's got these like
Good
jokes.
Word. Jab.
Yeah, he's a jabber.
You can vocalize jabbing.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. When he speaks, he makes it clear what he wants. Even when he's sarcastic, it's clear he's being sarcastic, and you better listen. He is a guy who is so passionate about what he believes is right and wrong. He is passionate about doing his best to live his vocation. He's tasked with training the main character in how to fight, because that's his main house. That's what he's born to do, is to be a good guard to the prince. And he is tasked with teaching her how to fight, and he's passionate about it. But when he's told you're doing it wrong, he's like, okay, let's rethink this. And he does it right. But I love Killian because I feel like, and I could be totally wrong, but I feel like he has the most character development throughout the series, even from book 1 to the end of book 1. Sharla probably disagrees. She doesn't like him so much in book 1 in Self-Conclusion. But from Self-Conclusion to Alter, I think he's a totally different person. That's he develops a lot. So you see this hard exterior turtle shell of a man, and then you get to know the soft gooey inside. I don't know if a turtle is the best analogy there, but I like Killian.
Maybe snail would be better.
Snail,
they're gooey on the inside.
Gooey on the inside. Have you seen the old Dr. Dolittle? They like walk inside the snail shell. It's like this spiral staircase. I always thought that was awesome. Anyway. All right, Sharla.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character?
Am I allowed to give the same answer that I did before?
Yeah.
Because you asked this one? Yeah.
Some people maybe didn't watch the last video.
That's true. Sorrel is my favorite character. She's kind of, it's funny because Killian is a guard, but I also kind of feel that Sorrel is the guard over Aloria. She's kind of there to help protect her from her own mind at times, because they can mind speak together. Well, they can read each other. Sorrel can read Aloria's mind. She can hear her thoughts.
Very much like what you do with the Beast. When Aloria or Kaylin is brought to this new world, there's a unique connection where Sorrel can hear her thoughts the way she can hear the thoughts of the beasts of Lorelvan. Read the book. It all makes sense.
Yeah. She's kind of like that person to keep everyone in line, too. So.
Yeah, she's the mom of the group.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, follow-up question.
Okay.
Never mind, I'll save it for later.
Okay.
I'll save it for my next one.
All right, then the last question for you is, what has surprised you about writing these books?
Lorelvan is the first series I've written. It's the first books I've written from start to finish as an adult. And I think what has surprised me most is, like, I have it all planned out. I'm a planner. There's planners and pantsers, the people who fly off to see their pants, and the people who plan. I'm what they call a plantser, because I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't plan out, like, here's what each chapter is about, let's outline the chapters, but I plan the story. You know, here's the beginning, the middle, the end, here's the problem, the climax, the resolution, you know, all that we learned in script analysis and script writing and everything. You know, all that stuff you learn. So I plan all of that. I have the story. I know what's going to happen. But I have found unique surprises as I'm writing where I'm like, oh, what if I did this? Or I can't give away because this is part of book 3. This is part of Prophecy, which is coming out at the end of the year that Sharla is a test reader for but hasn't read yet. But I was sitting at my parents' house. Sorry, I'm getting into story. I'm a storyteller. I was sitting at my parents' house over the summer editing Alter, which is the second book of the series. And I literally go, oh, no. Whoa! And everyone looks at me like, okay, Caitlin, like drawing attention to her book again, you know, and it's my family, but whatever. But I was like, I gotta tell someone. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's this huge plot twist that I wrote, and I had no idea it was there. And I was like, this is amazing. I didn't even realize what I wrote. But I wrote, in Alter, I wrote it in. And I'm not going to lie, I rushed through writing Alter because I was so excited for Sharla to know what I was writing that there was one night I sent her a chapter and she read it. And she waited as I was writing the next chapter and then I sent it to her. And there is, like, I rushed through a bunch of chapters. And there's literally a chapter where I start where Sorrel says, you can't rush the ending. And I literally wrote that because I was rushing the ending. But I wrote something in just to add some more depth to the story, just to solidify this plot. And I wrote it so quickly because I just want Sharla to know what was in my head and what was happening. I wanted her to, like, dive into this world of characters with me and get excited with me. So I was writing super fast. I was like, oh, and then this, and then this. Oh, are you ready? Okay, and then this. But then I'm sitting editing, you know, months later at my mom's house, and I was blown away by this thing that I wrote that I can't talk about so I don't give things away. And I was like, it's right there. It's so obvious. I don't have to do this plot twist, but I'm gonna. Yeah, if you want to know what happens in book 3, just really read into Alter. If you let your imagination run wild and you really hone in on the words people use and the reactions people have, then you might guess what's coming in Prophecy.
Now I gotta go home and read the second book again.
No, you got recording. Don't go back to Alter.
I know. Finish the first one first.
Charlotte will probably have Prophecy by Thanksgiving.
Nope.
So next week.
I'm so excited.
I think I write good books. I mean, look at all of this happening over here. And Tim, my husband, is behind the camera saying, that thing better be like polished to a T before you let Charlotte read it because we need genuine reactions from her. But yeah, I'm excited. And I'm mostly excited because I pride myself in being able to surprise people in my stories. Oh, sorry. I gotta adjust. The puppy got off my lap. I like surprising people. I like plot twists that you don't see coming. We've talked a little bit about Cassandra Clare and how she writes. Like, the reader kind of knows what's coming before the characters find out. I'm not like that at all. You don't know till the character knows. Because I can cause suspense and still surprise you at the same time. I like to think so anyway. So Prophecy, I'm really excited. Guys, will you please read my books? Sales have been down. And I think it's because y'all are watching these videos and you're not sure about the books. But we're telling you, read the books.
Read the books. Yep.
All right. Again, I talk a lot.
All right.
I sit at home all day writing. I don't talk often, so this is exciting. What was my follow-up question for you?
I don't know. We were talking about what character I like the most.
Character.
Yeah. Is it what character I like the least?
No, it's something more dynamic than that.
Okay. Good, because I don't know the answer to that.
What character dynamic is your favorite? Or, you know, maybe if you have a couple favorites or moments between certain characters, what's your favorite? Spoilers. We're going to talk.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
If you have not read the books and you want to, stop the video now. We're going to talk about some spoilers.
Okay.
Spoil away.
Okay.
Favorite moments between characters or dynamics that you really like?
Are we just talking about book 1? Or does it matter? Can I talk about book 2?
Let's talk about both. Yeah. Self-conclusion and Alter, whichever one.
So I'm allowed to give away spoilers.
We've already said spoilers, so...
All right. My favorite character dynamic, I think, is the growth between Taven and Sorrel.
I feel like I knew that was coming because you've gotten on me so many times. Like, when are you gonna solve this? When are they gonna reconcile?
It's true.
Are they better yet?
I love relationships, and I love, I guess, just reading about how it grows and develops, and especially when there's conflict, when you really love certain characters, you want that conflict to be resolved.
Yeah.
And so, I guess I'll just go out and say everything because the spoilers, you know, like they have some trouble in their marriage.
Because they're married.
Because they're married. And so in a lot of the second book, they're working on that. And it's frustrating because it's not solved yet. I mean, there's some kind of conclusion at the end, but I still feel like there's more that's going to happen in Prophecy.
Do you feel like a resolution could happen between them without the reader being a part of it? Or do you feel like the reader has to be there when everything gets laid on the table and figured out?
Well, I would like that to happen. I would love to know how it gets resolved, because I also feel like you write real relationships, and for something to be real, you know, I want to read it and feel that sincerity between the two characters, besides just, you know, kind of reading some background of, hey, they fixed it up. And I'm like, but did they?
That's why she doubts. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite moment between them? From either book?
The scene on the mountain when they marry, I think, is
Aw.
probably one of my favorites. Yeah.
Did you cry?
I can't remember if I did or not. I might have teared up a bit, yeah.
When I wrote Sorrel dying in spoilers.
Spoiler.
In self-conclusion, Sorrel dies, and as she's dying, Killian unites them. They become married. I laid in bed. It was like 10 o'clock at night. Tim was already asleep. Q was laying at my feet, and it was dark. And I remember, cry, dang it. This is sad. Cry, Caitlin. If you can't cry, no one else is going to cry. And I was so mad at myself because I couldn't cry. And I turned on Spill Canvas, the song Self-Conclusion, some other like old pop romance songs I used to love to bring back some nostalgic feelings of, and I just couldn't do it. And I'm like, well, maybe other people will find it sad. I tried to make it super sad. Yeah.
You've had other people tell you that.
Yes, I have had other people say
cried.
that they did cry for that mountaintop scene. And I think from all the readers that I've talked to, and people I love talking to my readers, so please DM me. I'm like a fangirl. I love to hear what people think. I'm like, oh my gosh, but this character, did you hear what they did? Oh, you know, and I wrote it, but I still am so excited by it. But no, I've talked to a number of other readers who did cry. But most people say the mountaintop is their favorite scene. I think it's because you have action, you have romance, there's a big surprise. Surprise! I almost don't want to say it in case someone didn't stop the video and they're listening to all these spoilers. But Killian is not who you thought he was. The prince is not who you thought he was. But yeah, I think it has a little bit of everything. That's why people love that scene.
Yeah, it's a good scene. Good scene.
Yep. I think my favorite scene of self-conclusion is actually when they're in the forest. Just because I love
which one though? They're in the forest a
lot. When Aloria finds out that Killian's love is unrequited. Because I love like the realism of that. Like sometimes you're in love with someone, they do not love you back. Sometimes they lie. Yeah. Sometimes they lead you on. I was that girl who I felt bad for a guy, so I let him on a little bit, but I knew it was gonna not go anywhere because I didn't like him that much. And I didn't want to be a jerk, but I was too scared to tell him no. And that makes me sound conceited. But I'll tell you about all the things guys have done to me too. That was selfish of them. But Killian's love was unrequited. He does not love her back. He was doing it to save his people. And so you can't hate him for that, but you hate him for it.
You hate him for it.
And, you know, she gets very mad at him because, you know, it's okay. It's okay to get mad when you find out someone doesn't love you the way you thought they did. But it's also, I think, a good life lesson to have good friends who tell you the truth of a matter and don't just say, well, if you feel that way, it must be true. No, our feelings lie to us all the time. And I hope I got that through in self-conclusion. Yes, your feelings might be valid, but that doesn't mean they are true. You may validly feel hurt and cheated on, or what's the word I'm looking for? Cheated on isn't good. How does Eloria feel in that moment?
Betrayed.
She feels betrayed. And in this case, it's true. He did betray her. He lied to her. But, Sorrel could be pissed at Taven for something he did, but he might have done it with perfectly good intention, and she misunderstood. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted that to get across in both self-conclusion and alter. Quell's raw. Spoiler. Not a place, it's a person.
He's giving it all away.
He speaks to that in alter. He's the bad guy. He wants to twist people's feelings, and he says, I want people to rely on how they feel, not for what a situation is, because he knows if we rely on our feelings, we're just going to spiral. Mm-hmm. You got to rely on what's really in front of you.
Yeah.
Here I go, just chatting away again. This is why we do it. I love it. And I love being able to be like, well, here's what I think. For sure. I was called you Sorrel.
I'll take it.
For Sharla to agree or disagree is fun too, and to hear her thoughts. So yeah. You didn't like Killian. And that hurt me.
Like
and I might bring this up every time we do a video. But I was like, what do you mean? Killian's not a brat. He's not a jerk.
He's a brat in the beginning. He does some awful things.
Yeah.
Which I despise him for.
But I'm like, no, you have to love him. He's so good.
You grow to love him. I feel like he also gets his due diligence in the second book, and he gets punished a lot. So you're kind of like, okay, well.
Charlotte's like, well, now you've paid your price. Well, now you've been in timeout. You can come back. No.
I mean, there are consequences for every action.
Yes.
No matter if it's good consequences or bad consequences, there are always consequences for every action that you take.
Amen. Oh,
Learn that from thieving.
Yes.
Shout out to it, and I move professor.
Yeah, consequences. Everyone hears it negative, but they're good consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Killian's consequences are both. They're twofold.
That's true. That's true.
They might not be good for him, but they're good for others.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
True. And I just am wondering what consequences are going to be happening in Laurel Vaughn in Prophecy.
Sharla has read the prologue. And we'll stop there. Thank you so much for joining us. We love talking to you guys. Please DM me because I want you to join this fandom. If you've read the books, I want to talk to you. If you're like, I'd love to do a video talking about characters, we get together once a week. Come join us. We need friends who can geek out about these books just like us.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't feel like I'm the author. I feel like I just found these books one day, and Sharla and I are the only people in the world to have discovered them and reread them. So
it's wonderful.
It is. All right. Thanks all.